Okay, let's recap Playday number 7 of Stage 3 of the NAL 2021 season. The games for the day were TSM versus Sonics on Clubhouse, Space Station versus Dark Zero on Oregon, Beast Coast versus Astralis on Cafe, and Xset versus Oxygen on Oregon. The Sonics started out their game hot with a flawless round, followed by 2 more victorious rounds on the attacking side of Clubhouse, which is generally a defender-sided map. But then TSM calls their timeout and claps back with the other 3 rounds of the defensive half for them, for TSM. And they don't stop it there. When they switch sides, they continue to win rounds, running the score up to 6-3. That is 6 rounds in a row for TSM after their timeout. Sonics managed to keep themselves alive with 1 round after this, but then TSM closes out the game 7-4. TSM was rather bad on entry in this game, i.e. Sonics were good at entry in this game. Sonics won 9 of the 11 entry duels, meaning TSM only won 2, which is quite poor, but I mean, TSM got the job done regardless, so good on them. The round I want to take a look at is round 7 here, the first attacking round for TSM, and they are in the advantage at the beginning of the clip, and then they sort of fall behind a little bit because of an unfortunate occurrence, and then Chala is staking the plant, and Bolo just gets a massive 3k, which you will see, and they close out the round from there as Rexon just runs back and forth trying to shoot through a wall and stuff. All right, let's play that clip here.
It's 40 seconds remaining in the round. Not a lot of time for TSM to work with here, but they're going to hope that they can manage to evade the Kite Electroclaw, and they do so quite well. So both of those Selmas, the tentacles reaching enough to blow open the hatch and allow unfettered access down to Kitchen. It's been 10 seconds that it's taken, and the first kill for the Sonics in this half finds itself on the board. Down goes achieved, but oh no! He blows himself up with Geo in tandem. Oh my goodness, that is not good. They both die. Unideal. Kansan get taken down by Bolo. This round is just an absolute mess, but Bolo's still there. All right, finding everyone in the process as Chala gets the plan down. Rexon's last alive. What the hell just happened? We'll see a retake from over towards Church. Through Moto, now watching above. Is there anything he can do? Is there any drones that can potentially spot Rexon? Still looking to head back. 1 player from TSM sitting on the case, 1 from above. This looked like it was going well for the Sonics, but then Bolo did what Bolo does best. He's picked up 8 kills after he had none to his name just a couple moments before. He potentially get a 9th unless he feels kind enough to give it to Chala, and he does. A 2nd kill for Chala, as that's 4 unanswered rounds from TSM.
And yes, Bolo went big, as he did in the rest of this game. Top player on his team, and each of the games for the day actually have one especially big performance from a player. Some of the games had multiple good performances, but for this game, Bolo went huge. The second game, Hot and Cold, went huge, to the surprise of nobody. For the third game, Iconic went big for Astralis, and in the 4th game, Vertical for Oxygen, also to the surprise of nobody. People had been questioning the role changes that TSM made, and that is Chala and Geo switched roles, with Chala going to Hard Breach and Geo going to Flank Watch. But it came out yesterday that apparently Chala is now the IGL. Before, I believe it was achieved, and now, in addition to those role swaps, they've decided to put Chala on IGL. And this makes sense. In the grand scheme of things in Siege, generally your hard support player is a lot of times your IGL. So they put Chala on it, and maybe they're struggling with it a little bit before today, but it seems like it's now working out for them. And we'll have to see how it keeps playing out in the future, or if maybe they revert back to the other way. We'll have to see. But now let's get into the next game, Space Station versus Dark Zero. So this game sort of picks up where Space Station's last game leaves off, with Hot and Cold going big, and I'll just show the clip now because it really looks like Hot and Cold has not skipped a beat from last week. He was beating down TSM, and then he starts in round 1 by beating down on Dark Zero. So let's take a look at that clip now.
He's still got a Nitro Cell waiting for the call. Oh, he completely botches it. Guess you're going to need to stream a bit more T-Hunt there, Troyo boyo. And you're down for the count, Hot and Cold, with 2 big kills, one of which is an entry. So if you haven't voted yet, go vote for Hot and Cold, because you'll technically be right.
I wonder if anybody will make it in time. Hot and Cold doing his usual hot and hot things, and 2 entries for SSG to start this round off should give them the round in the bag. but we've seen teams throw in this position before. Hyper trying to get a pick back. He actually probably could have killed Rampy there as he peeked with the nade out, but a third kill for Hodden as Rampy forces Hyper into Hodden's waiting arms.
Goodness gracious. Didn't he drop over 20 kills in his last match? And here he is, ready to do it yet again against his former team. No wonder.
Oh, boy.
There's another player who used to be on DG in this lobby as well. It's Skies, but we haven't said his name just yet. Foltz will deny an ace to Hot and Cold. 4 kills is the best that he can have on the board as Eclipse from long range will try to outduel the players from Space Station, making up space inside a freezer.
Oh.
But a 4K for Hot and Cold. All right. He just walks right in and takes charge. Look at that. 4 kills to start the round, and he is back on his bull, Michael.
He can't keep getting away with it, Parker. I have to say it every single match because he keeps getting away with it.
And yes, I mean, big 4K from Hot and Cold, but it's his only one of the game, and Rampy gets a 4K as well. But other than that, there's no big kill rounds coming out from Space Station. Maybe there were some 3Ks, but I only tracked the 4Ks and the aces. As you can see, Space Station wins 6 in a row, and that is on the attacking half of Oregon, which is generally pretty hard to do. But turns out Space Station's pretty good at the attacking half of Oregon these days, and Oregon in general. It used to be one of their worst maps, if not their worst map. They lost it quite a lot, and I think then banned it quite a lot, and now they've brought it back, and they're really good at it. Dark Zero, I think, were comfortable enough going here because they had beat TSM on it, so it's Space Station, and Space Station's win was better, but I guess Dark Zero thought they had something that they could pull out on this map, but they really didn't have anything to pull out because the only thing that was able to prevent the 7-0 was Pambazoo getting a plant, a 4K, and a 1v2 in the same round. It was quite impressive that he pulled it off, and he was in the 1v1 against Hot and Cold, of course a 1v2 before that, but he killed whatever player it was. Came down to the 1v1 against Hot and Cold, and he wins it mostly because Hot and Cold does not have the intel on him. If Hot and Cold had guessed right or had intel on him, probably it would have gone his way, but Pambazoo does end up clutching it. Very impressive. Maybe that's one that you could check out as well, but I decided to show the Hot and Cold one because it really illustrates the dominance that Space Station and Hot and Cold especially had in this game. And today it was proven that the god Hot and Cold can bleed. He took his first opening death of this stage. He also got 3 opening kills in this game to sort of make up for it, but he no longer has that perfect stat line. He was 12-0 before this game, so he's 15-1 after this game, and he's not only the best player on entry, but he still retains the highest rating in the league. But just behind him is Vertical, who had an impressive performance in his game, along with his impressive performance from the rest of this stage. And so moving on to the third game of the day, Beast Coast versus Astralis. Astralis desperately needed this win because they are one of the 2 teams going into today that hadn't yet had their bye. Mirage had their bye today, and Astralis has their bye in Playday number 8. Nobody has a bye in the final day because of that whole Dark Zero playing 2 games at the end of the season thing. So yeah, Astralis really needed a win or at least some points here. Things were contingent on how well Xset did, and, well, spoiler alert, you probably already saw, Xset loses their game, so Astralis would have been still alive even if they'd lost this game, but they don't. They do win it, and they looked a lot better than Beast Coast looked here. Astralis did struggle in a few rounds, and those were mostly the rounds that they lost. Beast Coast didn't really look like they should have won most of the rounds that they won. Maybe this one looked deserved, but this one, it was a 2v4 comeback from Beast Coast. This one was also a 2v4 comeback from Beast Coast, which they brought to a 2v2, and they won on time with an Echo Drone. And this round was a big 4K and 1v2 clutch from Anthony, which I will show here.
Bozo will go down to Iconic, who's continuing to sing true with these bullets to make sure that they get the first strike going.
There we go.
Now Anthony finally going to have a chance to strike on his own as he's going to tear things apart on the Whitehall push. 2 kills going into his favor. Had to wait a while to get it and costing him a couple teammates, but the job is done. And now Beast Coast controls the numbers game yet again as we go down to a 3v2 with just 35 seconds left.
Well, if you're going to bait, win. That's the biggest thing. The M590 with 2 big kills there, but Iconic's still going to get the equalizer. He has been on another level today, currently 7-3, but you can say the same about Sippin, 7-2 right now. It's going to be a battle of the MVPs. Frag Grenade in for Iconic. He knows someone's deep inside of Raiding, but he's aware of the player inside of Laundry. That's the biggest thing. The game sense got to be top tier here, and he gets ahead of Sippin. It's a triple for him on the round, and now Anthony, he's got the drop and the case. The M590, so dangerous in these close positions, and it's going to be a quad. He only needs 4 shells to get it done.
Astralis puts up a really good performance on entry in this game, only giving up 1 opening duel in 11 rounds, which is very impressive. And you'll also note that they didn't have any clutches, they didn't have any 4Ks, they didn't have any aces, no disables, and no plants. So just good, clean living from them. As you can see down here, Xset the same thing, except for, of course, they got crushed in their game, so it's not as impressive to do so. Apparently, Iconic is now the IGL for Astralis, and it's been this way for some amount of time. I think it may have been Shuttle in the past, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And overall, it looks like this sort of performance is exactly what Astralis needed. They're not completely safe from relegations just yet, but this puts them in a much better place than they were in before. They have a bye next week, and then they play Dark Zero on the final play day. So depending on how well they do and how well Xset does, and then maybe even how well some of the other teams do, we'll see who ends up in that relegation spot. And so for the final game of the day, we have Oregon. Once again, it's Oxygen versus Xset. It's a little bit curious that Xset allowed Oxygen to go to Oregon, as this is probably their best map, and it's probably been well known that this is their best map for quite some time. They said on the broadcast that they've won this like 6 of the last 7 times they played it, and they're on a current like 5 win streak on it. And I guess now they're on a 6 win streak, if that was true. They won 7-1. They only dropped this 1 round here, so they won 4 in a row, dropped a round, won 3 in a row. Just a savage beatdown. Vertical was the big player in this game, going 12-2, I believe, so plus 10. This puts his KD at over a 2.0 for the stage, which is insane. And it's even higher than Hot and Cold's, who is 1 kill shy of being at a 2.0, but Hot and Cold does still have the slightly higher rating, like 0.02 higher, probably mostly because his entry scoreline is a lot better. They might have the same number of opening kills, actually. I'm not 100% on that, but Hot and Cold is 15-1. I think Vertical is like 15-7. So still a very good entry scoreline, but not nearly as flawless as Hot and Cold's is. For this game, let's take a look at round number 6. As you can see, Vertical ends the round with a little 1v1. This was sort of a hectic round, and it seemed like Xset might have been able to pull it off. At one point, Filthy sort of walks right by Kino, who is planting, but Filthy was going to challenge the person that he thought was on white stairs, or maybe he knew was on white stairs, but he does walk right past Kino, could have denied the plant. And then I think Kino finishes the plant, gets off, and then kills him. And then NVK gets put in the 1v2 position, gets a kill, and then basically loses down time, but Vertical does end up killing him. It looks like NVK might have been able to stick the plant, but you can decide that for yourself. And I will show that clip right here.
Also getting a little bit closer to the null-timer here as we enter the last minute of the round. They're going to start moving their way in, and Xset will start to fend them off. Prod and NVK both making their mark to get kills in their favor. Brings it down into Xset's favor overall now as we fall to a 4v3. Kino still primed to move in, trying to get himself into game so they can at least start to put the case down on the ground. Here we go, first attempt from him. Will it be stopped? Does Xset still have a lot of real estate in this area? Filthy pushing out on the white, does not see the plant apparently.
God.
Kino will take him down. NVK able to exchange that back out, still leaves Xset in control of the player count, but no longer as Laxix picked up a trade. He's got a chance for a second one, but Vert will steal it from him as it all falls for Xset to NVK, holding top white stairs control. He's retaken the case, but now he's got to go on a wild hunt to figure out where these last 2 players are going to be positioned at. Vertical, incredibly low and basically one-shottable. Laxing was at full HP, but no longer. Now NVK just needs to figure out Vertical, get that 1 bullet onto him, and he's got this round, but Vertical playing it from below. He can't get the spam dangle, though. He's going to try to run around instead. However, he did get NVK off the case, so no longer is the timer going to play into Xset's favor.
And then let's just look into the standings a bit. Once again, it is Xset in the relegation position, but they can work their way out of it. They do have a losing head-to-head against Beast Coast, Mirage, and Astralis, but they do have the winning head-to-head against Dark Zero. However, Dark Zero has 9 points available to them, whereas Xset has only 6 points available to them. But the team that they're most likely to be able to pass is Astralis, as Astralis only has 1 game left, meaning they can only make their way up to 9 points, whereas Xset can get up to 11 points. But XSET's game do come against TSM and Space Station, so they will not be easy points. They're going to have to really fight for it. But if they can get a win in regulation in one of those and a win in overtime or regulation in the other one, then they will secure their spot in the NAL 2022 season. They will guaranteed be ahead of Astralis, regardless of how Astralis does. So they are really looking for wins, or they are looking for at least a few points and Astralis to not get any points. The standings still remain pretty bogged up. I mean, 4 teams at 6 points and then 1 at 5 points, and then it's pretty clear who the top 4 are at the moment. It's likely that these 4 teams will go to the major, go to the NAL finals, and then also go to SI, but it's still not guaranteed yet. Again, Dark Zero has up to 15 points left available to them. Space Station is guaranteed, though, for at least the major and the NAL finals. I'm not sure if they're locked up for SI yet, but I imagine they're pretty much locked up, if not literally locked up. The reason Oxygen is not guaranteed for the NAL finals and the major, despite having the same number of points as Space Station, is because Space Station has the head-to-head against Dark Zero, so they cannot be passed by 4 teams. They can only be passed by Oxygen, Sonics, and TSM. Oxygen, since they haven't played Dark Zero yet, could potentially be passed up by Sonics, TSM, and Dark Zero. Dark Zero can't pass them in points, but they can tie them in points. And if they were to tie them in points, that means that they beat them in their game. They still have to play each other, Oxygen and Dark Zero. So Dark Zero would have the head-to-head and therefore knock Oxygen out of the top 4 if that were to happen. So very unlikely, but still possible. So Dark Zero is really looking for TSM more than anybody to struggle. Maybe Sonics, but Oxygen and SSG are, of course, very likely and completely guaranteed to go to the major, respectively. And as one final remark about the day, it was interesting that we saw pretty much all defensive side of maps. Again, Oregon very defender sided, and Cafe really defender sided as well. Clubhouse maybe a little bit less so, but still pretty defender sided. However, all of them went attacker sided except for Cafe. I think, only 4 attacker wins came on Cafe, so that's not out of the ordinary. But then on Oregon, both Oregons, it was a heavily attacker sided affair, curiously. And of course, if the far better team starts on attack, and they just rack up attack wins, that's just how it's going to go. So 6 attack wins here and then 2 attack wins here make it 8 out of 9 attacking wins for this one, and the other one is 5 out of the 8 rounds. So that brings it to 13 out of 17 rounds going to the attackers on Oregon. That's a bit unusual. And then Clubhouse, it was 7 of the 11 rounds going to the attackers, so also somewhat unusual. So a little bit curious there. And other than that, I think that's going to do it for this video. If you would be so kind, leave me a like, a subscription. You could leave me a comment about anything I said in the video, anything you want to see in the future, anything you think I could do to improve. And other than that, I will catch you in the next one.
We've seen Kino take a bit more of a front role, working with vertical a little bit more. Yaga's been falling off a little bit, moving to more of a passive position.
He's either Cyclops or Brett the Hitman Hart, and I can't tell which one's worse.
TSM still managed that round, and it could have gone smoother, I imagine, if they still had their pressure from above. So it's actually a lunch break here for the Sonics.
OXG heard some of the analyst desk talking about how they might not have been the best team in the region right now and wanted to give us a show to prove that they are once again. OXG shut it down here against XSET, 7-1 in their favor as they claim another 3 points, and the